On December 31st, 1999, Jason Redfield, a 25-year-old pizza delivery boy in New York City, was playing the Space Battles video game again. Casting a glance out the window at the Manhattan night skyline, drenched in skyscraper lights, he sighed with frustration. Here comes another feudal millennium. At that moment, a call came from Aldo Guidici, the owner of the pizzeria. He was scolding Jason for being lazy and had an urgent order to deliver an ultra-cryboticon cheeseburger to the cryogenic research organization Sphera Lab. As he rode his bike out, Redfield saw his former lover Emily in a luxury limousine with some oriental-looking man. "I hate this worthless life," he groaned, pedaling as hard as he could. At the lab, Jason couldn't find Professor Enrico Weber, in whose name the order had been placed. Obviously, this was an unnecessary joke on the delivery man. Opening a bottle of beer, Redfield said inconsolably, "Well, another disgusting millennium is upon us. Happy New Year, Jason." He knocked over a chair, carelessly fell into the open cryogenic chamber, and went into anabiosis for a millennium. The lab security system nonchalantly set the freeze timer to 1,000 years. Jason woke up only on December 31st, 2999, on the eve of the 31st century. Strangers in white coats, Teresa and Cave, released him from the ice trap with the words, "Good morning, fellow countrymen. Welcome to the world of tomorrow." After the fate allocation procedure and extensive DNA testing, a young attractive woman named Olivia was introduced to Jason as his personal career counselor. It turned out that his only living relative was famed scientist Harry J. Hawkins. "Our research has shown that you are ideally suited for the job of courier, Mr. Redfield," Olivia declared. "There are no other professions available to you. We are now implanting you with a career chip that will determine your future forever." Jason was horrified. Could a person's fate really be sewn into a silicon chip? He jumped up and ran down the endless corridors of the lab, losing his bearings. Redfield accidentally triggered the procedure to revive the cryochamber where Olivia was frozen. A kind soul did not allow him to leave the girl in a time trap. Jason turned the timer to 5 minutes and hurriedly escaped. Walking through the futuristic New York of the 31st century, flooded with alien technospheres and portal aerodromes, Redfield pondered how to contact Hawkins. Suddenly, he noticed a line of humanoid robots toward an old-fashioned New York City phone booth. "Excuse me, what is that line?" Jason asked a droid with a battered metal body. "What are you, completely retarded, human?" he replied grumpily in a disembodied voice. "This is the famous suicide booth, the most humane way to end your life. I've been waiting my turn for the last hour." "But why would you kill yourself?" Redfield was horrified. "You're a robot. You've got all eternity ahead of you." "Eternity?" resented the droid. "Easy for you to say, human. My name is Richard, and I'm just an old girder bender in construction. My program is long out of date, and the guys at the factory refuse to upgrade me. All I have left to do is rot and rust in a landfill." The robot story horrified Jason. Would the future be so ruthless to artificial intelligence? Redfield urged Richard not to hurt himself, but instead suggested he go straight to the nearest bar. Olivia came running in, thawing out of her cryochamber, chasing after the fugitive. Jason and his new robot friend Richard managed to slip out of the bar just in time as an enraged Olivia ran in with a raking posse. The chase continued through the narrow alleys of the futuristic metropolis of New York City. "We need a place to hide," Redfield whispered fervently, catching his breath in a tight alleyway. "How about the Museum of Heads?" Richard suddenly suggested. "That's where I last serviced the local area network. I know a secret passage." The friend sneaked through the back door into the huge dome of the museum, where the heads of all the famous personalities of the past were displayed in glass cases. From Albert Einstein to Omar Khayyam, all the geniuses of mankind were carefully preserved by their descendants. "What a nightmare," Jason hissed through gritted teeth, "a cult of inhumanity. Is this what the future has come to?" "Humans have always been a little necromantic," Richard commented emotionlessly, leading them toward the far section of the museum. "Careful, there might be a glitch now." Indeed, it seemed the robot's old program was beginning to glitch with the electronic systems surrounding it. Richard suddenly bent over and unfastened the grating on the window leading to the outer observatories with a mighty roar. The fugitives made their way out onto a platform overlooking the vast ruins of ancient New York that stretched to the horizon. There, in the slums of the pre-flood ruins, people were still leaking out a miserable existence. Everyone I've ever known, everyone I've ever loved. They're all long dead, Jason sighed sadly, looking at the apocalyptic landscape. All the generations are gone, and I'm in some nightmarish future world. At that moment, a panting Olivia came out of the window with a blaster at her head. "Stop running, Redfield!" she shouted. "Your will doesn't decide anything here. Put your hand under the scanner to implant your courier chip." Jason meekly held out his left hand with his head down. He was awaiting the imminent chipping of his fate as a courier for the rest of his life. But Olivia suddenly made a very different choice. She pulled the chip out of her palm and angrily tossed it into the dark ruins of the ancient city. "It's a monstrous system," she whispered, sitting down next to the dazed Redfield. "People have the right to control their own lives. Please help me destroy it." Jason hugged his new friend jubilantly, and Richard whistled briefly from the speaker in his helmet. Wow, what kind of people still exist in this rusty future? The only thing left to do was to find the legendary scientist Hawkins, Jason's last kin. When Redfield heard about his outlandish misadventures from his own lips, the renowned professor couldn't hide his amazement. "It was you? That cryogenic time traveler? I did so much research on that anomaly." Hawkins looked at the trio of them intently. "Well, from now on, I'll be employing you on my company, Space Express. You'll be delivering important dispatches to planets all over the galaxy. Jason, your dream of becoming the greatest courier in the universe has finally come true." Redfield brightened up finally, shaking his famous descendant's hand firmly. They had incredible adventures ahead of them in the rank of the most epic space couriers.